Welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam, and we're talking about a new Hulu original movie today, and I'm going to use this as kind of a method of pointing out, like, why the video game method of defining by past games is dumb. Like, I've talked about it before on Thugman Reviews a few times, the idea of the Dash-like games, the Souls-like, the Souls-like, the Rogue-like, the what else was there? The Stardew-like now, all of these like, and then like Metroidvania, and using these past games to define what the one we have in front of us is. And I've always been against that because I feel like it is inherently kind of gatekeepery to be like, to understand what this game that you have picked up in front of you is, you have to have played this past game and know what that is, to be able to point out, oh, okay, so it's got similar gameplay features to this other thing. I feel like that is... Yeah, these things are such scams. Like, and why would you put down 5 of them in 6 of them in this one little space? Like, come on. So, what we're talking about is, The Princess, which is Hulu's newest movie that came out this past weekend. It features Joey King of The Kissing Booth. She had a small role on The Flash in one episode. She probably has other screen credits. I think she's in Bullet Train coming up. But she plays the titular princess, who has been captured and put in a tower. And her family's been captured too by Dominic Cooper, who you may know as Howard Stark. You may know him as the husband-to-be in Mamma Mia. He is the bad guy in this. He is taking control of the kingdom. He has taken the princess that he's going to marry, thrown her in a tower, and she has to escape and save her family. And the reason why I say we're going to call this movie a blank-like is because it is kind of like The Raid, or kind of like John Wick, or any number of other movies that are like this. And what I'm saying is it's got a very simple plot, and the plot is usually get from point A to point B, or here's a thing you have to get, and here's why we're going to allow this person to kill all these people in this movie. I guess we could also call it Death Wish-like, I guess we can go with, but we'll use Raid. We'll use The Raid, or The Raid 2 specifically, for those of you out there who want to watch it, which is also on HBO Max now, so if you want to watch a better version of this movie, go watch The Raid 2 on HBO Max. Now, what this is we follow the princess, who never gets a name, she's just the princess, as she fights her way down this giant tower. And it's very much like The Raid, where she has to get to the top of the building instead of getting to the bottom of the building, and on top of that, she takes damage. Like, she takes a physical toll of the fight. It's not just, one man armying her way through and all of that. And here's the thing, and I'm going to allow a pause for people to gasp when I say it, but I think that the fact that it is a girl in the lead is a hindrance to the entire movie, and let me explain why. There's a weird thing in pop culture where male characters get away with knowing things or doing things or being able to fight or any number of other things. Male characters can get away with that without seeing on screen how they learned how to fight. We don't need to know how, John Wick learned to be the marksman he is, or how to fight his way through the hordes of people. That's not necessary for the movie, because we're here to see John Wick go through, fuck up a bunch of people, and do that. That said, conversely, we do need to see how Rey learns to fight in Star Wars, as evidenced by the throngs of angry people. In my comments, to this day, when I say Rey is not a Mary Sue. Because they don't explicitly show it, it's like, well, we don't know how she learned how to fight. It's not fair, because if it was a man, we'd have to... No, you wouldn't. That's the thing, is we don't need to see how they learned to fight in a movie about a man. It's not, it's not something that would take up story real estate in a movie about a man. We wouldn't sit there and do that. So when this movie does take the time to take the action, grind it to a halt, and show us how she learns to fight, we don't necessarily need that information, but it does grind the story to a halt nonetheless. And that is time that could be used to show more interesting fight sequences, or it could be used to show more, more fun, more fun to the movie. Because the fun of the movie is watching her go through and kick ass. That's what we're here to see. The problem is we don't need to see all the backstory about how she learns to fight. In the same way we don't see that in The Raid, we don't see that in John Wick. It's not a backstory-heavy subgenre of action if you're doing this kind of movie. And the reason for that is we just need to see enough to understand why this character is going to go through, and we need something that will give the audience the ability to say, okay, they're in the right to kill all these people. It's basically to absolve the audience from feeling bad about the massive amount of death that's going through the movie. And that's the kind of thing that, John Wick did very well. If you look at John Wick, it's very quickly, we establish his wife is dead. He has this car he really cares about, and his wife gave him this dog to help process her death. Then, guy wants the car, comes to his house, steals his car, shoots the dog in the head, and then he goes on a killing spree. We now have a reason for that. And then we take Death Wish. Death Wish is very simple too. His wife gets raped, wife gets killed, I don't remember, but something happens to his wife, so that we then get the ability to watch the movie as he goes through and one-man armies his way through. Same thing with, to an extent, Peppermint. Her husband and son get shot in the head, and she gets shot too, and then she wakes up and, she wants revenge. So we have a reason to explain why she's on this revenge spree. This movie gives us that. But the problem is, there's too much other story going on. There's too much other nonsense that is not of major consequence to the plot at hand. I don't care about... I don't care about everything going on in her, around her, to get to the point of, the fighting. I just want to see her, give me a reason to root for her. And then once you've given me a reason to root for her, give me a, give me her fighting her way through the tower. That's what I'm here to see. And I think the fact that because the movie tries to get out ahead of itself in a weird way. The movie does try to get out ahead of, well, how does she know how to fight if she's a princess in a tower? How can she do that? The fact that the movie does try to get out in front of that criticism does hurt the movie in a way. Because we don't need to see that explanation. We don't need to see how she learned to fight. That's not what we're here to see. And the fact that the movie does spend so much time showing us her training and showing that, it's we don't need to see how deep the bond is between these two friends. The movie can just be these two are friends, and then we just buy it. It's alright, fair enough, these two are friends. Awesome, got it. Oh my god. Sorry, I'm trying to find a parking spot, and someone parked in two spots. But that's the important thing that this movie... that's where the movie really, I think, hits its hindrance. I mean, the action's okay. It does its job. The action is good enough. I would have liked some better action because that would make the movie more engaging. There are some interesting cinematography choices that are unique and cool. I just think, again, there isn't enough in this to do. And then toward the end especially, the movie really gets bogged down in story, where other ones like this don't get bogged down in story, where the thing about it is we know the story. We know what it is. It's he wants to marry her. She doesn't want to marry him. He has now kidnapped her because he wants the kingdom and put her in the tower, and he is going to marry her. So that's the whole thing. I don't need exposition. I don't need everything. Like the third act of the movie is kind of bloated in a way because it spends a lot of time covering things that aren't important to the enjoyment of this movie. I'm not here to see how, why he wants to do things. I'm just here to see the fight. And if the fight is executed well, the movie has done its job. And then when you start getting into other things that are less important, that's when we start getting into this weird area where it's like, I don't care about any of this. And then that's when I disengage with the movie. And that's when this movie kind of falls apart. It's not a bad movie. It's worth a watch, but it spends too much time on explaining things. So we'll wrap up there for today. And we'll be back with more stuff as it happens. And until then, have a great rest of your week.